And I brought 8 people to see Zimbabwe, because sitting in Luxembourg and you read about Zimbabwe, nobody wants to come here, nobody wants to invest in here, nobody's interested. And it's not because they have a thing against Zimbabwe, it's just that there's other opportunities. My office in Pretoria covers 14 countries. I've been to Zimbabwe 3 times this year. There's some countries I haven't been to at all in the last 3 years, like Comoros. So there's a lot of effort we put into Zimbabwe to be here. And that's why I said 10 years ago we brought an entire team down here to meet with you, to meet with the banks, to meet with the private sector. If you speak to any of the EU ambassadors, they'll tell you how passionate they are about Zimbabwe. We've had previous IMFs, people settled in Zimbabwe afterwards. So there is a great goodwill around Zimbabwe, and I think that's some of the things I try and convey to the government when we speak to them. There's a great opportunity to interact with the international community, because there's a lot of goodwill to get Zimbabwe going. And I know that it doesn't sound like much that we're doing, but like I said to you, we're working in technically a default country. That is impossible. But it was just because 10 years ago, I spent months and years trying to convince member states, trying to convince the management committee to invest in Zimbabwe, and they did it. So I think that, I know that it's frustrating from your perspective, but there are a lot of efforts done to try and achieve this. I think you mentioned earlier about us being here, one of the first big development banks to come in, and my hope is that others will follow us. And in terms of our tenors, I know that a lot of the banks use us as a standard when they talk to other DFIs to say, well, the EIB offers this, why don't you offer that? So we're trying our best to meet some of your frustrations, but it's just important to understand what kind of an animal we are and what we can and can't do. We don't have a bias in Zimbabwe. Like I said, we're working in very difficult circumstances to be here, and it's only through the support of the EU delegation and the EU member states that we're able to achieve the little that we can achieve. It makes me sad when you talked about when people stood, they're working in the infrastructure sectors, because I can't help you. And that is frustrating for me, because in any other country I can help you, but I can't here because of the legacy debt issue. And so it's not a decision I've taken personally, or the bank has taken personally, but this is just the reality of being of sitting with legacy debt. And we're trying our best, we're being innovative. I've spoken to the government many times going back over the last 10 years. I've given proposals on remittances and how we might structure that better. I've given proposals on how we might revise state-owned entities by moving them to the private sector. I think whatever ideas you come up with, I've probably tried them at some point since I'm here, and that is way beyond my remit. We're a project-driven bank, so technically we just wait for projects to arrive, we assess those projects, we fund those projects. That's what we do on a technical basis. But we've gone really over the edge in Zimbabwe to try and see how else we could help. I'm really interested in how we can use remittances more effectively, particularly in funding private sector. A lot of people are remitting here for daily food, and this could be much better funded through companies that are providing chickens and agricultural products. There are ways we could do this. I'm trying my best, and the delegation is trying their best, and I just want to express that. And I know that we can't meet all of your needs, but it's just to let you know that we are trying, and we will continue to try. We're a long-term funder, and we do spend a lot of time here. Like I said, I spend more time in Zimbabwe than any other country, except South Africa, where I'm based. We've had due diligences here more than any other country. We have a lot more lines of credit in Zambia, for instance, but we spend still more time here. So that's just a reflection of our commitment to Zimbabwe. And I just want to make you know that we continue to try. And it's not that